line items.
National Abortion Federation sued the group over the videos, and in response, a federal judge called William Orrick imposed a gag order in contravention of the First Amendment and common sense. Is Orrick a fair judge? Can he rule on something like this? The judge has strong personal ties to a Planned Parenthood-affiliated clinic and ought to recuse himself. You bring to light clearly illegal and appalling and immoral behavior by Planned Parenthood, and then you become the target of a criminal investigation.
Attorney General Kamala Harris, who's fundraising on her website off of Planned Parenthood, got a highly political search warrant to conduct a political raid on my home.
His multi-million-dollar punishment for exposing Planned Parenthood with those undercover videos.
Well, I just played that little sort of roundup clip there as an introduction. This, I suppose, could be considered to be like a follow-up to last week's live stream. And I was considering leaving this till tomorrow, but then I realized I have kind of too much material as it were. Seems like an inappropriate choice of words. To even get all of this covered in just one more stream. So I figured, look, I'll strike more or less while the iron is hot. Sometimes when you're just looking through some research material, as it were, you get the sense, I don't know why I'm speaking in third person, I get the sense, but I'm sure it's a familiar feeling, that you can't sort of leave it a little while longer in case you don't get the opportunity. Or knowing me, like I know myself, that I might get lazy and decide to put it off for another week or whatever, you know. So I figured, look, I'll just do a relatively quick stream, or I'll see how I go. And then I'll see maybe if I do another one tomorrow, but we'll see. For now, anyway, I guess I have a few clips to play, and we'll see how far we get. And maybe the rest we'll pick up wherever we leave off tomorrow. So I suppose I'll get into it here. I'm trying to think now which one I'll start with. I'll play another little short clip now. See, there's a couple of people might have joined there. Some comments already, so I'll have a quick look here. There's Slow Boy and Dr. Crispy. Good to see you guys there. Appreciate your presence. Hello, friend. Maybe Slow Boy is saying that to Crispy there. I should put these comments up on screen, actually. I sometimes forget to do that. So were those some waves, I think, maybe? And Slow Boy says, JC and Crispy said they'd be here. All right, great. That's good to hear. Well, there's Crispy anyway already. And strawberries and whatever. Okay. Well, look, I'll get on with it anyway. I mean, I was nearly going to say get on with the show. That seems highly inappropriate because, look, this is extremely serious material. I can't think of anything really more serious. I don't want to try and pretend again, like I said last week, that, oh, you know, I'm just such a good person that I really don't like these horrible things happening to children or unborn children. It seems like it would be an easy way to try and pretend that one is a good person. I think, you know, by saying that, you know, this is an extremely important issue, but I'm not even sure if there's anything more important. Some people, I guess, either desensitize themselves or maybe don't have the capacity to feel empathy. I was thinking about that last week, you know. What I'm going to get onto at some point, I'd like before I end this stream, is to read some comments under one of the videos. Because people wonder about this kind of thing, you know. Are these people born cruel? Possibly. Or do they somehow go through some kind of desensitizing process where there's some kind of perverse reaction inside what could be a common human spirit, and they almost revel in the callousness of it. Like, you know, the callousness does mean, like, as if, you know, you wear the skin on your hands from work, such that you develop calluses and you no longer are sensitive. Then your skin isn't sensitive anymore. You're numb to the touch, and so it transfers to the psychology, you know, that through witnessing and taking part in acts of barbarism, although that's kind of the wrong word, extreme cruelty and viciousness on the most defenseless of people, of humans, that they just don't think anymore about what it is that they're doing, or they think that what they're doing is somehow valiant. They convince themselves that what they're doing is brave or noble or beneficial to humanity in some way. I'm going to play some clips as well of Kamala Harris and all the women there who are surrounding her and cheering for this. And again, look, even if they think, they use these terms like not just reproductive health care, but reproductive justice. I saw that term in one of the videos I was kind of looking at. Reproductive justice, they think this is. And they clap and they cheer and they're so happy about it, even if they're happy to be able to have the choice to do whatever it is they want to do with whatever is growing inside them. I would have thought that human beings would kind of understand that you should never cheer about it. It should be under the most regrettable of circumstances. So I don't quite understand what's going on, even I can get somewhere there inside the minds of these people. And it is very tempting to think that this is a different species of person who's incapable of feeling empathy for another human being, or worse, or maybe it's worse, I don't know, enjoys being cruel and extracts pleasure out of another human being's suffering. And the more innocent that other human being, the more pleasure they derive from it. Maybe there is such a human being, or maybe there is such a class of human being, or maybe that makes them not a human being. I'll get on with it now, but I suppose I should add some of my own thoughts to it. Crispy says Moloch is alive and well. Yeah, look, that's an aspect of it that I want to get to a bit more, actually, and really kind of lay out. But I'll leave that till tomorrow, or the next stream that I do on this. Because this is very obviously going to put, I'm going to start noticing a lot of patterns, right? Which is obviously going to put my channel in danger. So look, I suppose I'm just going to say I have an Odyssey channel. I'm up to 88 miles per hour subscribers on my Odyssey channel. So if I'll leave a link in the description, and if you want to go over there, it should be easily found anyway. I'm Eternal Extrapolations on Odyssey. I started a Rumble one as well, but I'm pretty sure most of the views on most people's channels over there are fake. I've done a little bit of experimenting. And anyway, like you see, sometimes there are people who have videos that have maybe tens of thousands of views and maybe 1 or 2 comments. Doesn't make any sense. Even if most of the videos on Rumble are being shown in some kind of embedded video site somewhere else, I don't know. But most of the commenters are bots, marketing how to get more views and this kind of thing. So I'm not really sure about Rumble, but I like Odyssey anyway. But whichever, you'll find me on both. So anyway, I'm going to get braver and braver with regard to putting my channel into jeopardy. Right, listen, I'll get on with it anyway. With regard to the comments that I made there about what might it be, with regard to what allows these people mentally to do what it is that they do. Stoic there says a little bit of everything, perhaps on a spectrum, whatever exactly that spectrum is between vindictiveness and spite, like the people in politics. Yeah. I mean, I suppose actually what is more horrific to me, I've been really thinking about this for a long time and more so lately. I'll get on with it now, as I say in a minute. I've been thinking that what is more frightening to me is that people who don't believe in anything, they have no morals either way, and they're just prepared to say anything, and like actors come across as quite convincing that they believe in maybe whatever is the leftist talking points of the day, or the rightist talking points of the day. They really don't believe in anything, but they're able to convincingly debate from either point of view and just get paid for it, and are perfectly willing to be bought out by the highest bidder. That's what they hope will happen when they make their way to Washington, D.C., or wherever is the capital of whatever country, but particularly Washington, D.C., as it is. I don't know if there's some people might not realize it's the head of the American empire, which has for sure been in existence since the Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944. But anyway, look, I said I was going to get on with it, so last little comment here from Stoic before I move on. He says they can look at you, or they can look at the public blatantly lie to your face. Wow. Yeah, that's it. All right. And look, I don't mean to be picking on this particular woman here either, who I have in the background, but like, I suppose holding up the glass of Chardonnay or whatever it is, bit of white wine there, and you'll notice something about it. Just take a look at the people in the background. You'd swear it was just a lovely social function, a night at the opera or whatever, all dressed, in their finery, and, the chit chat and the hubbub behind them. Right. I'll talk a bit more after the next clip, but I think what I'll do is just a small, short one now. It's, again, like an introductory clip before we get on to a bit more about the woman that I have here in the background. Gatter is her name. You'll see a little bit of Dr. Nukatola, I think her name is here. So quick clip here, and I'll come back to you after this then.
Cecile Richards is stepping down from Planned Parenthood. Does this feel like the right time to step away when it feels like everything is mobilizing?
Planned Parenthood is now under federal investigation by the Department of Justice for selling fetal body parts.
2 Orange County medical companies are facing charges of selling fetal tissue illegally.
These 2 medical companies appear to be closed today.
State health investigators have served subpoenas for records at several Planned Parenthood offices in Texas.
A federal appeals court ruled that the state could remove Planned Parenthood from the Medicaid program.
States' efforts to direct Medicaid funding away from abortion facilities that violate the law.
We should take a look at the new videotapes that released those awful women at Planned Parenthood having to swear under oath that they in fact were selling baby body parts.
I knew LA was getting payments because I was a provider there.
University of Pittsburgh, they were taking the scalps of 5-month-old aborted babies and they were grafting them onto lab rats. This study was funded from the NIAID office. Did anybody at Dr. Fauci's office ever ask, how are you getting those whole scalps from the heads without a partial birth abortion?
What is at stake here?
We are very concerned about Roe, obviously.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's an important clip. I'm glad I didn't forget to play that. The last thing there, grafting the scalps of babies' heads onto mice. I mean, if you would just say that to somebody, they'd obviously think they'd call you all the standard names. First of all, they'd pretend that they thought you were a mental case, a basket case, tinfoil hatter. They'd assume, oh, you're one of these people who believes in contrails and all the other things, that we know are true now. I say contrails, chemtrails, whatever. But you name it, any conspiracy, they just think you're a madman, a mad woman. But there we are. What's that line about horrors beyond your imagination? And if you can get people to believe in absurdities, you can get them to commit any amount of cruelty, something along those lines. It's just amazing. And of course, their PR always tells us, and maybe they start believing a lot of their own PR as well, where they sort of say, oh, this is just to help people who lost the ability to walk again, or it's to help men who lost their hair to have hair again. It's just to help people. They always come at us with saying, we just want to help you. We have to just do these Island of Dr. Moreau type stuff to try and cure diseases. That's all. We just want to help people. But I don't know whether it's more upsetting or whether it's more terrifying that they do this purely or they're motivated purely by money, by profit. Are they just doing it for business reasons? Would that be more frightening than if they just really enjoy making children, babies, unborn babies suffer, or ending innocent human lives? Would that be more frightening, that there's sort of that devilish satanic aspect to it? Would that be more frightening, or is it more frightening that no, these are ordinary, in inverted commas, human beings who walk along in business suits or evening gowns, or you'd pass them in the street, or you'd be in a cafe or a bar somewhere, and they're just like ordinary people sipping a glass of wine or having a cup of coffee, writing in a notepad, or they have their laptop out on a table, and you think, oh, there's a businesswoman, there's a businessman. Like, maybe that's more frightening, that it's the ordinariness of it, And I think I remember seeing a line like that as well, about the banality of evil. That's another phrase that occurs to me. And there is something very, very shocking about it, because we expect evil to be dressed up in red with horns and a trident, you know? We expect evil to look like it has sort of decayed teeth and bulging eyes. But we don't necessarily expect evil to come in the form of, sort of sunshine in LA, ordinary looking people at a business conference. And I think that's the thing that I did realize, having worked not in any of this kind of industry, but just in business. I might as well say I worked in, I'll call it big data. But I'll talk more about that another time. But, I could see people basically about the decisions they would make. Nobody seemed to ever have a moral compass about anything. It was just, if we get paid to do something, even a small, meager amount, then we do it. Why would you question it? And it also equate being paid to do something with, that must be a measure of how good I am, how socially acceptable I am. And, I suppose we can see it in the media. I'd never thought humans would be this easily, not just coerced or influenced, but easily controlled in every aspect of their minds, that if they are given the impression that something is done by the majority of people, then they think, well, that must be a good thing then. Otherwise, why would everybody be doing it? And I want to be on the right side of things, so I'm going to join the majority. Most people are sheep, of course, in a very, very bad way. And they don't have a moral compass. And I suppose I'll just take this opportunity to say that I now know, I'm confident of this, and I won't derail the conversation off this particular procedure that they seem to love too much. But I would just state in the by, but it's a very important realization. Take your time in coming to it if you don't want to. But most of the people previously who believed in whatever form of Christianity that existed in Christendom or the West, they didn't believe in it, but they pretended fervently to believe in it. They pretended to believe very much in the 10 Commandments or whatever morality that whatever Christian churches espoused or preached. They pretended to believe it so much that they maybe had convinced themselves they believed in things like, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, they shalt not covet the neighbour's wife. They probably believed all this stuff. They believed that they were good people, but didn't believe in any of it. As soon as they were given permission to not believe in any of it, then they didn't. Then they believed in whatever the government told people to do in 2020. That became their new religion, or other things like that. So most people, they either never had any personal autonomy, or they gave up their free will immediately in exchange for comfort or security or whatever it was, Right, I see there's a couple of comments here. I seem to have trouble with scrolling back, but anyway. Here, Kitty says, the EPO and EPA to increase hemoglobin shots are made from the DNA of hamster ovaries. It's always amazing, isn't it? The specificity as well of the perversity that they engage in. Stoic says, this is how the medical industry has grown and come to what we know it to be. How do they know what surgeries they can perform unless they have taken body parts to practice? Exactly. They have to practice on things. I'll refer you, though, to the sort of synthetic practice that they do. It's not even synthetic. It's sort of a substitutional practice that they do. But it's never as good as the real thing, where they talk about how a papaya is a very good representation of a uterus. So in previous live stream last weekend, I referred to that, and maybe nearly 2 years ago I did a video on that. I have another pre-recorded video that I did, and I must sort of synchronize it up, maybe just edit out a little bit to try and get it down a bit below an hour and then put it up as well. That might deal with some aspect of that. But they think they're so clever. But of course, they want to eventually practice on the real thing. Target practice isn't good enough with just papayas. Practice, he says, the Stoic there. The world wars, they have done a lot of experiments on humans. Yeah, so they tell us about World War II. There might be a kernel of truth to some of those things. Dr. Crispy Roth says, Burke and Hare, the gravediggers, nothing new under the sun. Burke and Hare. I'm not sure now if I know who that is. Stoic says, how do you turn... Oh, well, I don't know why I suddenly balk at saying those things. Well, they're clinical words. Maybe it's just that I don't want to, because this is getting into a sort of of course, medical area as well. Maybe I have to start saying all of this is perfectly safe and effective, of course, everyone, and it's all great and lovely. And whatever agencies were mentioned there are perfectly good and cromulent agencies, and we should always listen to what they say and think that it's perfectly good advice, and everyone's free to follow that advice, of course, etc., etc. I think that's kind of what Jimmy Dore sort of says, So let's see if I can avoid anything. You know the way it goes, either labels underneath the video or whatever else. I don't want to alert the algo, you know the way. Right, I'll get on now. That's enough talking just for a little while there from me. I think I'll get on to Mary Gatter here. I think her name is Mary Gatter. Can't remember what her first name is. Gatter, anyway. And I'm going to play a video from her now. You won't hear me talking for another 4 minutes or so. I'm going to play it all the way through. This is her negotiating. She's at a business consortium. A lot of people refer to these things, informally, but, regularly as junkets, places where basically, I suppose, providers of services or products can meet with purchasers or supply chain agents or wholesale purchasers and what would they call them? Purveyors, retailers, that kind of thing, of the products that these people are selling. So, basically buyers and sellers of these parts get together. So that's what I'm going to play now. Maybe I say there's one or two comments coming in, and a couple of people might have joined us there. So just say hello there. No, you're grand, you're fine there, Stoic. It's all right. It's all right. You're fine. Slow Boy there says, anybody from that angle with a glass of wine is probably a Veritas video. Well, it's not Veritas. It's a guy, and he introduces himself, I think, a little bit later, or I think I have the video for that if I haven't played it already. His name is his first name Michael, I think, but anyway, his surname is Daleiden, Daleiden, and he talks about how we'll get onto it later. Acting as in her capacity as the district attorney or a district attorney for California, how our current, I say our Vice President-ress Kamala Harris was tasked by the people here to prosecute him. But he explains a little bit later. We'll get on to it anyway. There's Logan Garviel, maybe. Greetings. Good to see you there. And oh yeah. Oh, so Slowboy says, can I link the Discord here? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, thanks. If you're not a moderator, if it doesn't come up, then let me know, and I should be able to figure out a way of putting it in there. Okay. Right. I'll just play this video now. It'll be about 4.5 minutes, and then I'll come back to you. So as I say, it's Dr. Gatter negotiating on prices for individual products. So here we go.
What kind of volume do you need and what gestation will you do?
What we've been quoting is $50 per specimen. I think some people are doing more, some slightly less.
50 was like 12 years ago. What would you expect for intact tissue? What sort of compensation? What sort of...
Well, why don't you start by telling me what you're used to paying? In negotiations, the person who throws out the figure first is at a loss, right? So I want a Lamborghini. I thought I want a Lamborghini.
okay, we kind of lost you because we were talking to Eleanor, but then
I wanted you to meet
Robert Stark is with Biomex. Very nice to meet you. Pasadena.
When we were in LA, we had a deal with the guys who were
Novogenics.
Yeah. Novogenics.
Yeah. The problem we're having is that the California affiliates are all already partnered up with somebody.
Well, Pasadena's not actually.
Oh, Pasadena's not.
But you have the volume? I don't. What kind of volume do you need?
How far in gestation do you go?
16 weeks.
To 16.
We only do 20 cases a week, so it's not a big deal.
So that's the. I mean.
Hey, no, I'm not wasting.
Do you have a card on you? Because okay, let me give you one of mine. Because I did it?
No.
Oh, well, I would like your card as well.
What kind of volume do you need and what gestation age is? What kind of volume do you need and what gestation age is?
Well, really, it's 24 weeks. It's up to, most of the requests are actually like 16 weeks and above. So you're kind of like right on the edge there. But I think it would be worth it to make the connection, and this way, we can start the conversation, and if we can have like a one-off that we do some of the things.
It's a great idea. You have to make sure that your staff who are on site
right.
Whatever background check.
Right.
You have to pay a little money to use the space. It's not law. We're not doing that.
Right. Yeah. What do you have any idea ballpark what we'd be talking about in terms of compensation? Yeah, because most people now seem to be doing per specimen, and so what we sorry, what?
$75 a specimen or $50.
What we've been quoting is $50 per specimen. I think some people are doing more, some slightly less.
50 was like 12 years ago. 50 was like 12 years ago.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, so what we like about per specimen is that way we're not paying for material that we can't use. So if we can get a liver, a lung, and
you would
brain.
show up to do this.
Exactly. We would send a tech. We can get a liver, a lung, and
you would
brain.
show up to do this.
Exactly. We would send a tech. Yeah, we would send a tech in to do that. Yeah. Novogenics, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
But we had PDLA was 24 weeks, and we had Heather coming to 2 of our sites that went a little further along, and they got a lot of issues about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're still doing that. Give me a call.
Definitely. Yeah. I got your email and phone number on there. Okay. So we'll exchange all the further information. Definitely. Thank you. Good to meet you.
So look, I mean, I don't know how much noticing you guys do, but I do a heck of a lot of noticing, and not just the sort of ordinary kind of noticing. I'm trying to be more observant with things. Like there's certain things that really stick out to me there, really strike me as something that is notable beyond the sort of what now almost seems obvious to me. I don't need to look up anybody's Wikipedia entries if they would have any and look at any sections that they might have. It's very, very obvious to me now. I can tell them by so many different criteria, and mannerisms even. It's just incredible. But I mean, another thing that just ordinary people might be able to notice is that just so many women there. And again, you'd swear it was just an ordinary social gathering, a day at the races maybe, if it was in Britain, like maybe like Royal Ascot or whatever, like some kind of horse racing la-di-da type thing. Or, a sort of a benefit fundraiser for orphaned children in Dallas or whatever, but instead it's she's negotiating, 50 quid per specimen, and of course the euphemisms that they have as well. It's a specimen, that's what it is, so they don't have to think too sharply about it, too concretely about what it exactly is that they're buying and selling. She said, $50 has been on the low side. That was 12 years ago, Of course, she's trying to big herself up as though she's like some kind of hard-nosed negotiator. And she probably thinks she's quite cool, quite hip. And she thinks she's clever as well. I'm not sure if I have the clip of it, but she talks in one of the videos about how she mentions that whoever mentions a figure first is the person who's on the back foot, is on the losing end, has lost power in the negotiation. So she explains that she tries to get him to mention a figure first. But she says be better for $75, for a specimen. But also, if you might notice behind her, is all these women just standing around with their wine glasses. I noticed Deborah Nucatola there was drinking out of a beer bottle, which looked a bit uncouth, but she probably thought it was cool, So it's fascinating to see all these women. I'm sure there are some men there. I think I saw one walking in the door. I think it was a man, but mostly women. It's just amazing, the kind of things that can unify women. And I don't care if anybody calls me a misogynist. I'm well past that. But anyway, it just is quite amazing, because one might assume, I've said it before, but one might assume that women would be the protector side of humanity. They'd be the nurturing and caring side, and they'd be the most horrified at this kind of stuff, but apparently not. Apparently they revel in it. They have symposiums and conferences and junkets about it to celebrate it. I'll move on anyway. The other thing that I want to say about that clip, I'll check the comments now to see if anybody else noticed or wanted to comment on any other aspects of it. But novogenics, so novo means new. Genix, I guess, means, something to do with generating. So to generate something new, maybe like a stem cell. Maybe that's the idea, but it could be to generate a new type of creation out of genetics, maybe something like that. Or maybe they're new generators, something along those lines, or a new genome, maybe. Because the other corporations there that were listed were to do with Da Vinci. And of course, Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man was getting the measure of the man, measuring him from, the width span of his arms and his legs from top to toe. Then the internal examination, every part of his DNA, the 23andMe multiplied by 2. So if they can decode every aspect of the human genetics or the DNA, then they can rebuild man in whatever shape they want, whatever way they want to form him from the ground up. So anyway, that's another company involved in it there, and their logo has the double helix type of symbology in it. Right, a few comments here anyway. Yeah, so about the link there, Slowboy says she has to be a mod there. So, all right, I take it you tried anyway. You can get it to me in another way, and maybe I'll put it as a comment that's pinned or something like that. Stoic says she definitely doesn't have empathy. Wow. Or maybe they just practice all the time, like cognitive dissonance of tamping down that little voice that's screaming in their subconscious. And she looks just like us. Yeah, mostly. These people mostly look like us. Slowboy says that woman is a devil. Crypt keeper driving. Oh, that's the other thing, of course. She wants a Lambo. So again, she might be trying to show off to people, but it is extremely callous. And obviously, like, when people say phrases like, that the love of money is the root of all evil. So maybe it is that these people, I'm trying to give them some benefit of the doubt that they might not have lost all their humanity, or that they might not be born unhuman in that way, without, like, devoid of empathy or whatever we call humanity. But she thinks it's all very funny anyway, and superficial. She wants to get a Lambo eventually out of selling all these specimens. Crispy says, does she have children? Has she children? I don't know. But my guess would be, if I had to put money on it, that she doesn't. Because maybe women would change if they would have some of their own children. They could sort of, make more of a mental connection there between other people's offspring and their own. But who knows? Maybe that's, wishful or naivety on my part, that ain't no devil, that's a minion. Yeah, of course. Look, there is a theory, and I think it's true, that there are people who are willing minions of the devil, and I've come to believe in something that is evil. Maybe the devil doesn't need to exist. I've said this many times, but it's worth repeating. With the amount of evil in humans' hearts and their ability, it has shocked me. The devil doesn't need to exist, and in fact, I think the devil is more like just the accuser. That he doesn't force people to do anything. He might suggest the idea to people, and a lot of people seem to willingly take him up on that and go, "Oh, great idea." It has shocked me, the creativity that so many human beings, apparently human beings or members of that broad species, the creativity, the ingenuity they have for cruelty. But I won't deviate any more than that, just for now. Little old lady from Pasadena, exactly. She's mentioned that she either did work before in Pasadena or still works there, but in a different capacity now, something like that. Crazy, says Stoic. Slowboy says, I've heard if you go to Planned Parenthood at 4 p.m., is that what it is? Oh, no, at 4 to 6 weeks pregnant, they tell you that you have to come back at 12 weeks so that they can make sure they get it all out. Yeah, but it's probably that they hoped the person might come back after the 12-week period. The baby gestate longer. Yeah, I totally believe that, and maybe we'll find some footage of them saying this. Yeah, I won't read that out, but yeah, it was on screen there. A trade show, exactly. Thanks, Crispy Johnson. There's another word for a junket or a conference, a trade conference or something like that. Yeah. Yes, that's what he got, as well as her mannerism, her feminine behavior. Yeah. To them, it's just medical waste. Yeah, so why not put it to good use? Maybe that's one of the arguments they tell themselves. Yeah, we'll figure it. We'll figure something out there. Slowboy, as far as the link goes. All right, caught up there. What I'll do then is I'll get onto another clip here, and these are shorter ones now. So this is, I think it's just basically, it's going to summarize a little bit. This is when the fella, I think his name maybe is Michael, his first name, but anyway, Daleiden is his surname, and he's just interviewed by, maybe there's a longer version, I'll find it maybe for tomorrow or another time, when he's on Tucker Carlson's, as it was then, Fox News. So here we go.
The National Abortion Federation sued the group over the videos, and in response, a federal judge called William Orrick imposed a gag order in contravention of the First Amendment and common sense. Is Orrick a fair judge? Can he rule on something like this? The judge has strong personal ties to a Planned Parenthood-affiliated clinic and ought to recuse himself. You bring to light clearly illegal and appalling and immoral behavior by Planned Parenthood, and then you become the target of a criminal investigation.
Attorney General Kamala Harris, who's fundraising on her website off of Planned Parenthood, got a highly political search warrant to conduct a political raid on my home.
His multi-million-dollar punishment for exposing Planned Parenthood with those undercover videos.
Right. Sorry about that. And I'll just correct what I said earlier. His name is David Daleiden. And also, I forgot to mention there that at the introduction, which Tucker Carlson gave there, he summarized the current situation as it still stands very nicely, is that a lot of his videos have had to be either removed from his website, and his YouTube channel and his website are called the Center for Medical Progress. Again, after this, I'll make sure that I have a link in the description to that. There is one there in last week's description of last week's live stream, but anyway, I'll do it again after this. But anyhow, I forgot to mention that there is a judge in San Francisco, and his name is William Orrick, I think he said there. Again, I think that I am able to notice things, and it's just a crazy conflict of interest, where apparently he is one of the directors or founders of a San Francisco planned, hood clinic, as they call them. And he's also hearing the case of David Daleiden, who has recorded some of these people, saying what they have said on camera, or at these junkets or conferences. And he has told him that, he's sitting in judgment and basically helping Kamala Harris and other people to prosecute David Daleiden, and tell him that his videos have to come down, or that have to be censored or redacted, or this kind of thing. Obviously, if they were proud of what they did, if they didn't think what they were doing was wrong, they wouldn't have any problem with all of this being online. And the funny thing is that the Center for Medical Progress, it only has, obviously, like I have far fewer subscribers myself, but relatively speaking, this is quite a small number of subscribers. Only something like 23,000 subscribers. And I'll get on to one of the videos now. Actually, maybe at this point I will read some of the comments under that video there that I played, right? And I don't know if there's any point in sharing my screen. I think I'll try. I guess I'll try. I'll try sharing my screen, just in case people want to read along with me. Before that, I'll just check now to see if there's any comments here. Right. Sorry for a bit of dead air there. Right. What I'll do is I'll share my screen here and just see if I can show you some of the comments as I read them under that video. That's what I'll do before I move on, because some of them were pretty good, and I felt like they it'll get the point across that there's a lot of people that are shocked at it, but not enough eyes are on this. And so in my small way, I hope to help, in whatever I can do to get a few more eyes on it. And of course, you can all please pass it on in the same way too, please, in whatever way you can. So yeah, is that on screen there? Sorry, I have to add it to stage. I'm kind of a little bit rusty with the little streamer, but you should be able to see that on screen there. And maybe I can make it a bit bigger, can I? Again, sorry for a little bit of dead air here while I just try and set this up so that people will be able to, I guess, view the text along there, and as big as I can make it there. So I think, yeah, that'll be it. Right, so I'll read along here. Now, so this was the sort of the Lamborghini Planned Parenthood Lamborghini executive haggles again over baby parts prices, is what he's titled it there, David Daleiden. Maggie Sullivan, 6 years ago, says pure evil. And I'm not sure what the reply to that is. I find this, says Dandy Randy, I find this far more than disgusting. It is evil at its finest. Kyle Hankins, 5 years ago, says, this is honestly really disturbing, the way she calls the 24-week-old baby product or tissue. God, most babies at 24 weeks survive. This is just terrible. Somebody says this woman should be jailed. Tom Borico says, and by the way, I'm not sure, as far as, saying this woman should be jailed, I don't know what her current status is, if she's still practicing or at large or anything. Borico says, while watching these videos, I get the impression these high planned I can't say that word there, the G and then side workers feel like they are mobsters or something, smuggling drugs. They have a real rock star, big man on campus persona going on. All that fortune won't be worth it when the shame of the sum of their deeds is exposed before heaven and hell. And somebody says amen to that. Somebody else says thank you. I thought that was a good comment. All right. Reprehensible and appalling, says Laura Marie for life. Defund PP, she says with the hashtag there. Mainstream media won't show this. Well, Tucker Carlson did anyway on Fox News, to his credit. JP Pomerlow says, I find this beyond disturbing. It is the stuff of nightmares. And then Nick Crompton says, the horrifying part is it's real and well alive. Electron Commerce says, life sacrificed on the altar of convenience, then sold to the priesthood of science. Brilliantly stated. Mind if we share? Says somebody. Please feel free. Many scientists, says Breton Ferguson, today aren't scientists. Well, can I read this out? I'll go over it anyway. Real scientists use the scientific method and let the facts lead them wherever it leads them. Today, many scientists have agendas and facts are malleable. They only go where the funding leads them. Also, if you discover anything that doesn't fit the mainstream narrative, you are fired and discredited. This is why you will often hear all scientists agree on this and that. The ones who don't agree either are afraid to talk or have been fired. Well, like Jimmy Dore, I suppose at this point I better say, always follow the advice or listen to the science and the people in the institutions, the fine institutions, such as mentioned already previously. It's all perfectly safe and lovely and effective and beautiful and perfectly prominent. Fires of hell, says SMC 2673, await these wicked witches. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Lol, hell. I've got news for you, crazy person. Your bullshit book is wrong and has been here and has been wrong for more than 2,000 years. I'll just say, I'm somebody who, effectively, I might have said this before, I don't need to go too much into like where I'm coming from, but my position is just to let you know, I'm not a religious person. I'm not a member of any religion or religious organization, I better say. In my mind, I recognized that the Catholic Church, I was brought up in the sort of Catholic Church culture and ethos and religiosity. But I recognized that they were hypocrites and something was very wrong with them. And there was a whole load of just see this book and see this catechism. Well, now you have to do what I tell you. And contradictions in what they said to us, It didn't like they were preaching Jesus, but it was basically do what I say. And yet Jesus was the very man who stood up to all these Pharisees, and these people were acting just like the Pharisees. So, age 4 or 5, I realized something was very wrong with them. And maybe aged 14 or 15 was probably the last time I went to church or mass. But my attitude is that these kind of modern, or let's call them neo-atheists, they're exactly the same people who 20 or 30 years ago would have been thumping the Bible. It's all just about, can they control people? That's all they care about. Just like the politicians, they don't really have a position on anything, but they'll go with whatever is the flavor of the year, month, or the current culture, whatever that is. They just want power over people. That's my attitude. So these people who would mock people for using biblical phrases to underscore how horrible what it is that's going on, I detest these people as well. These are the pseudo-intellectuals, they are the midwits. I don't know what their IQ is, whether it's a little bit below 100 or maybe it's 130. I don't care. These are people who are educated beyond their intelligence, and they have no insight into anything. And I don't think they've got mental autonomy. They think they're very, very clever for mocking people who they identify as being religious, and at this stage, I would prefer to be around people who are sincerely religious. That's my stance on it anyway, and I hope that goes some way towards explaining where I'm coming from. I think maybe that is important, even though it shouldn't matter. The truth is the truth, no matter who it comes from. This fella says, witchcraft has nothing to do with abortion, and most witches would be avidly against this dark act. They are not witches. All right, well, fair enough, whatever. Figure of speech, anyway. Crimson King says, well, when you get there, make sure to send me a letter of how it feels. Corey, rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. I would say they qualify as being defiant in rebellion against God and against natural affection. Well, it goes against nature. What you would imagine would be natural instincts anyway. You don't see it in the animal kingdom. And people, I'll say this, right? People used to pretend, at least, that they were horrified at how Aboriginal women, if they had a child that wasn't going to make it, or they had too many children, they'd leave one, to... Maybe I should... Okay, no, I will say this because it's important, right? I seem to remember there was some documentary about some Aboriginal woman in Australia who either left a child to die out in whatever desert under the sun, or worse, to Western eyes, to European civilization, as we once thought we knew it, that it would dash its newborn infant head on a rock and leave, and it was the most heinous act of barbarism, we thought. But now I realize that Western civilization cannot point the finger at any other civilization. Am I still online? I don't know. I'll go back to the stream here and check. So I think that's enough comments there from that YouTube video. I'm just going to go back and check. Oh, I think has the stream ended? Or maybe I'm just scrolled down too much. No, I'm still live. I'm still live. Okay. But yeah, a couple more comments here anyway. Stoics is or live comments, I should say, to differentiate in case anybody's ever just listening to this. People rather pay attention to mediocre reality TV as opposed to giving attention to putting light on things that we can change, but people rather be bliss in their ignorance. Yeah. Would I interview her? Yeah, I'd talk to anybody, to try and find out how they tick, even if I don't agree with them, I suppose, if that's what you mean. And now without religion, Ireland has become a hellhole. Absolutely. Yeah. It kind of like at one point it was different. It was a different brand or type of hellhole. I didn't appreciate the Catholic Church telling people what to do, but I realize as well that most people need to be told what to do because they don't want to have to determine for themselves what is right. They don't want to have to look into their own heart or into their own conscience. They'd rather not do that. So they'd rather just somebody in authority make simple rules for them and they'll follow it. That's what people do, unfortunately. Yeah, whatever Ireland was is dead and buried. It's with O'Leary in the grave. It's dead and gone. That's September 19, a line from September 19. Maybe I'll publish it next on September 19. I tried before, but RTE gave me I used some of their footage, gave me a strike. Copyright strike. Thanks, Stoic, for letting me know still here. It's not ended. Cheers, slow boy. We're only getting going. All right. Now, I'm not going to go much beyond an hour, I think, but I'll play another video here and appreciate you still listening and being here with me. So I'm going to play a few more clips here if I can get through them. And, I'll say obviously some of these are going to be shocking, but there's nothing that's particularly gruesome. I don't think I have anything lined up here that's particularly gruesome. But nonetheless, be cautious. Maybe tomorrow, if I do another stream, I might get into some of the things that to me would be considered to be quite gruesome because it really kind of depicts exactly, the reality of what's going on as far as fetuses go. Right. Okay. So I mentioned Kamala Harris. I'll say the royal we or our esteemed vice presidentress, and at the time she was acting in her capacity as DA, but I think then later she came back to visit some of the people in LA or maybe it was San Francisco as the vice presidentress. So people were perhaps more jubilant because of that, but nonetheless, I don't know if some of them might regret now if they would look back on it, the way that they were so jubilant. Given that the subject here was, ending prematurely, the growing life inside somebody's womb, many women's wombs. So they should know at the very least that it was a very bad look. So you have a look now, and I'll play this and see what you think anyway. And Kamala Harris, I think, doesn't care either way as long as she's getting paid. Here we go. Maybe I'll read some of this out. I didn't intend this to be the clip. I'm not sure if you can hear me. So, demanding millions of dollars for the undercover investigation in front of Judge Orrick. Kamala Harris meets with big abortion, Planned Parenthood and NAF leaders meet with her in person to discuss investigation in inverted commas of Daleiden. Civil lawyers for NAF review legal research Kamala Harris in search of David Daleiden's home. The FBI raided the home, and her agents seized computers, videos and files per Planned Parenthood and NAF's demands. I presume NAF stands for the National Abortion Fund or something like that. So Kamala Harris gives big abortion access to all the evidence seized by search warrant. Planned Parenthood wins $16 million and NAF wins video gag order rulings from corrupt Good Correct. Kamala Harris continue. And then they're fighting back by suing big abortion. So I'm not sure if you could hear me there. Not sure how the sound levels were, but anyway, not sure if you could hear me all right, but that wasn't exactly the clip I meant to play, but I'll play another one now. It's only about 40 or 50 seconds long. Whoops, I'd better take one of the comments off the screen there so it's not permanently on the screen, but I appreciate it, Crispy. And so here's the first of a few short enough clips now, okay?
What we have all known, and Planned Parenthood for certain has known, is that we can never take for granted that any of the gains that we have achieved will be permanent. We cannot go backwards, and we cannot tolerate a perspective that is about going backward.
I'm David Daleiden, and I'm the founder and project lead with the Center for Medical Progress. 5 years ago, my undercover videos caught Planned Parenthood's top leadership trafficking and selling the body parts of aborted infants. America's biggest abortion business was desperate and furious, so they turned to their political patron, then California Attorney General Kamala Harris, for help.
She's standing beside us, strong.
Yeah, I mean, so there she is in the first little clip there where she's standing on stage and there's all these women around her clapping all jubilantly. She looks very insincere. Her face, to me, is very visibly insincere, but she's trying to let these ladies believe that she's fighting, this just cause, It's a bit like, hello, Springfield kind of attitude. And then, of course, the next clip, it's typical Kamala Harris, as we've grown to know her over the course of her vice presidency, where she is saying, we cannot have a perspective where we're looking back. What we like to do is look forward. And in the way that we look forward, we don't look back. And then everyone kind of goes, yeah, that's just so inspiring. It's amazing how banal and insipid she is, and again, I think that's a good example of the banality of evil. How there's no inventiveness in it. It's basically just feigned heroism by the numbers. Her heart isn't in it either way. And I think maybe that is more shocking, that she's not passionately evil. She's just, people might say, a journalist, a bad journalist is a prostitute. They just sell whatever their integrity was out to the highest bidder and write whatever stories according to whatever formula, whoever's paying them. They have no opinions of their own. They're not curious about anything. They just will say whatever for whatever price. And in the same way, I think she is willing to get behind any cause and say the standard things about, we won't look back, we'll continue to look forward with regard to, and then looks down at card, abortion rights, yay, or they won't say maybe abortion rights, they'll say reproductive justice, yay, this kind of thing. And of course, there's a contradiction in terms, this euphemism, reproductive rights or reproductive justice, but there you are. I mean, how could, advocating for more and more ability to kill your unborn children be reproductive justice? Justice for whom? Certainly not the child growing inside the womb. And look, I would say to people, if anybody might even believe in abortion, or sorry, if anybody might believe in reincarnation, imagine if any of these people suddenly find their souls being, whooshed into a gestating infant, and then a few seconds later they feel the cold, serrated grip of the forceps around their thorax, as it were, and they kind of go, oh no, I've been reincarnated into this new growing human, only to basically experience exactly what it's like from the other perspective. That very well might be a reality. So even from a self-preservation aspect, people would, just from a logical point of view, would have to consider those ramifications. I see there's a couple more comments here anyway. Thanks for letting me know. I appreciate that, Crispy, that you heard me. Hopefully the levels are all right. That's ugly, says Stoic. Howdy all. Cheers. Good to see you there, Maze Mind. Right. And I think Crispy is saying there of Kamala Harris that she's a useful idiot. I suppose she is. Useful idiots can rise to the ranks of president and vice president-ress. Okay, I'll get on to the next clip here. This is just a short one, and less than 30 seconds. I'll come back to you after this.
At Planned Parenthood's special request, Kamala Harris targeted me to punish and silence my message about the abortion industry and fetal trafficking. I'm not the first person to ever record undercover video in California. Local news reporters routinely record and publish undercover video exposing factory farming, corrupt medical practices, and unlicensed marijuana vendors. Yet somehow I have become the first person to ever have the California video recording law enforced against me for news gathering.
So isn't that amazing, you know? As he explained there himself, all of a sudden this law was used against him, first person, for it to be used against. So it's the kind of law where they can selectively apply, and you know you don't live in whatever, we used to think a democracy is. We don't live in one. If laws are selectively applied, those are the kind of governments we used to point at and say those are dictatorships, those are communist states, or basically those are despotic regimes. But all of that sort of behavior has been normalized in our countries. I'm not an American, but as I say, I've been living in the American empire my whole life. I thought that everybody in the West basically aligned with what we thought were the American values as set out in the American Constitution and Bill of Rights. But all of that has been rendered null and void. Basically just arcane, archaic scribbles on a piece of paper, as George Bush once said. It's just words. It's just words on a piece of paper. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Most people don't even know it exists. They don't care even if it does. They just want to watch the Kardashians or whatever, and they don't really care about these things and they think don't affect them. And of course, people have been normalized into thinking that if it doesn't affect me personally, then nobody should care about it. And of course, I've seen that meme of the kind of, the soy face type person, whether it's a man or a woman will say to you, why do you care? Implying that, you're some kind of pervert for caring about any cause that might not be currently affecting you in some physical way at this very moment. And people think that they are now good people for not caring about anything that doesn't happen to affect them personally in the here and now. It's bizarre how our values have been turned upside down. But that explains, of course, why that they've deliberately put all the incentives in place there to breed as many uncaring idiots. And, immoralities I've come to realize, not having any morals is a form of stupidity. It's somebody who doesn't think beyond their own nose, even, from the selfish aspect of self-preservation requires preserving certain principles. Otherwise it'd be like that poem that I keep meaning to remember properly the first few lines of, but it's along the lines of, first they came for the so-and-sos and I said nothing because I wasn't a so-and-so. And then they came for the other type of people, but I said nothing because I wasn't a member of that group. And all the way down the line, and then they came for me, and there was nobody left to speak up for me. So there's nothing particularly laudable about any of that. It's just self-preservation. Obviously requires that you keep some expanding circles of protection around you by sort of saying, I better belong to some group, some vested interests, so that there's a bit of strength in numbers. Anyway, I think you get the point. I'll move on and play another clip here. It's less than a minute, and it's along the lines again of how basically they used lawfare. So as you might have seen a lot of times, it's not necessarily the prosecutions or the end result of prosecution, whether you be fined or put in jail. It's the process being dragged through the courts is essentially the punishment. So all of that process of being put through the court system, the process is the punishment. So he goes into the detail about it a little bit here in this clip.
We will celebrate the fact that we know how to fight. We will celebrate the fact that we are prepared to fight.
Kamala Harris met in secret with a group of California Planned Parenthood executives in Los Angeles in March 2016, while she was running for U.S. Senate and promoting Planned Parenthood in her campaign. Action items from the meeting show that they discussed Planned Parenthood's legislative agenda in California, as well as Planned Parenthood's lies that my videos contained threats, with 2 of the Planned Parenthood witnesses in Kamala Harris's investigation present at the political meeting. Less than 2 weeks later, Kamala Harris sent 11 California DOJ agents to raid my one-bedroom apartment with explicit instructions from Planned Parenthood to seize the computer and video equipment that I was using to publish the undercover videos.
Yeah, so of course, what I forgot to mention there at the beginning, we have some more of the footage of Kamala Harris on stage there. Again, she's insincere. Won't repeat what I said already, but all these people cheering, it really is sickening. And then the other sickening aspect, of course, is that very obviously it is selective application of the law. It's along the lines of, I forget what the name of the fellow was, but you can be sure it was another one of these type of people who was an advisor or in Stalin's cabinet. And Stalin was basically looking for ways to prosecute either people who he had no further use for or who were his political enemies. And this fella said to Stalin, "Listen, no problem. You show me the man, and I'll show you the crime." In other words, like we can pin anything on anybody, and we can use whatever laws we have on the books to selectively apply to people we find to be inconvenient to us or causing a problem for us. And of course, they'll create any law that they might feel that they need and use it then as well. So again, we don't live in what we thought were democracies. We thought we lived in these kind of countries where the law was blind as to whom was being prosecuted. It prosecuted cases, not people. But now we realize, the opposite was the case. It prosecutes people. It doesn't just basically sort of say, right, I don't care whether you're male or female or what race you belong to or what social class you might be in or any of those kind of things, or how rich you are or how poor you are. I'm going to be blind in that regard. I forget what the deity is, but anyway, Lady Justice, let's call her, would be blind to all these kind of superficial concerns, and the law would just be applied equally without bias. And in the legal system, say dispassionate, and certainly they wouldn't have any kind of vested interests in the outcome of the case. Otherwise, they would recuse themselves, like they're saying very obviously William Orrick should have. But in any case, very obvious here what was happening to him. He was being prosecuted not because he was doing anything wrong, certainly not immoral, and unlikely to have been illegal even by their sort of deliberately created laws to try and be used as weapons against people. So yeah, it was clear that they were just targeting him because he was interrupting the flow of the cruelty and the profit that they were engaged in. Right, here's the next clip anyway. It's about a minute and a half, and I'll come back to you after that.
California Penal Code 632 prohibits secretly recording a confidential communication without the consent of all parties, and defines confidential as a communication that you cannot reasonably expect will be overheard by other people. So my team was scrupulous to record our California videos in places of public accommodation like crowded restaurants, where the conversations were obviously overheard. But you can't necessarily say the same thing about local TV reporters in California, who have taped inside of private doctors' offices and inside of private homes. Yet not a single one of them has ever been charged with undercover video recording in California in the 60-year history of California's video recording law. Mine is the first and only case. And there's another piece to the California video recording law that specifically allows recording even a confidential conversation in order to gather evidence relating to violent crimes. The entire purpose of our video recording in California was to document and expose the violent crimes of fetal trafficking, including selling infants aborted alive and killing them through organ harvesting and medical battery against pregnant women. If those aren't crimes of violence, I don't know what is. But Kamala Harris's investigation never even considered our purpose or addressed those crimes, even though local Southern California law enforcement prosecuted and shut down 2 of Planned Parenthood's business partners based on my video recordings.
Yeah, so there you have it anyway. He explained it pretty comprehensively there, and it's very obvious what's going on. I think we can all see that, if you get in the way of big profits, then corporations will use the might of their finances to hire lawyers to prosecute you. And Kamala Harris, she didn't care about the issues. She just went, somebody's paying me? Great, I'm on your side, and that's about it. And he mentioned there that there was an exception. Even in their hokey law, there was an exception about recording in secret if it is done for the purposes of preventing murder, cruelty, violence, this kind of thing. And yet somehow it didn't apply to him. So obviously the court is biased, and they stacked the cards against him, and it was a kangaroo court where they had already reached their decision that they wanted to come to, and they just work backwards from that point to sort of say, now how can we get this guy? All right, next clip, and I think we're not too far off now finishing this stream, so stick with me for another 10 minutes and we'll probably be done.
California Penal Code 632 prohibits...
Sorry, that was the clip I already played. Here's a minute's clip now, and he'll talk a little bit more about what was done to him.
By the way, those business partners, the Da Vinci companies, they actually admitted guilt in a $7.8 million settlement for illegally selling body parts from abortions at Planned Parenthood Orange County. Who was the top abortion doctor for Planned Parenthood Orange County supplying those body parts? Dr. Jennifer Russo, one of the participants in the March 2016 meeting with Kamala Harris and one of the Planned Parenthood witnesses. You have to wonder, if I had been investigating unsafe grocery handling practices, animal abuse, or unlicensed gun sales, would Kamala Harris have ever thought to pursue video recording charges against me? It's pretty obvious that the reason that I alone was targeted by Kamala Harris is because I dared to criticize Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry. What Kamala Harris did isn't treating people fairly or equally under the video recording law.
Yeah, well, so that's basically it. I will say one thing anyway. If anybody notices, there's many ways of noticing things, and one is, of course, in names, even though it doesn't always tell the full story. But he says Rousseau, which would be the French version of it, and but it was written Rosso, R-O-S-S-O, and that's more like Italian. So Rosso, masculine, or Rossa, feminine, in Italian means red. Like Testarossa, the Ferrari thing, that just means red head. And Russia, as far as I know, that's also derived from the word red, and so is Ross. I'm not exactly sure if that's an Irish surname, but there's a lot of people called Ross in Ireland, and means red as well, or redhead, maybe. And Roth, of course, as in red shield. Roth is red as well. So I think that it's worth taking note of things like that there, There's many sort of attributes that you can kind of tick boxes on, and I would say that's one of them. So I'll go no further than that, just to say I noted that anyway, mentally made a note of it. And you start noticing a lot of things. I know that most people in the chat now and watching now, and maybe who might watch this a little bit later, you're not new to noticing, But anyway, just thought I'd point that out. Right, here's the last clip I have for you. Then I'll come back to you and read any other comments there might be before signing off.
In fact, Kamala Harris's deputy prosecutor, Jeanette Jarone, admitted in a court filing that the reason her office targeted me alone among all undercover reporters in California was because my videos were, quote, edited for shock value, and that made me, quote, more culpable than other undercover reporters in California. Obviously, I dispute the characterization that my videos were edited for shock value. What they show Planned Parenthood doing is shocking enough. But more importantly, it is your First Amendment right to promote the significance of your own message. When she said that I was targeted because of the content of my videos, Kamala Harris's deputy prosecutor admitted that the reason that I was targeted and I alone was to punish what I have to say. Planned Parenthood sells baby parts. That's why I'm suing Kamala Harris, the California Attorney General, Planned Parenthood, and others in Los Angeles federal court for conspiracy to violate First Amendment civil rights. This is crucial to defend the First Amendment rights of all Americans to report on issues that matter and to listen to what we have to say to each other without fear of government punishment. Selling body parts is a crime. Reporting on it is not. I will never bow to the tyrannical vision of leaders like Kamala Harris, who believe that they are entitled to tell us what to think, what to believe, and what to say.
So there's his website. I suppose I better just mention it again there. centerformedicalprogress.org, and his YouTube channel is called The Center for Medical Progress. What he said there reminded me of, I think the phrase is, when the reporting of a crime is punished rather than the crime itself, then you know you live in tyranny. I think that's the line, but that more or less describes what's happening there. Imagine reporting that somebody is selling baby parts, and that they also, seem to take pleasure in it, or maybe worse, seem to be very blasé and casual about the whole thing, very nonchalant, very matter of fact about it. It's just, they might as well be selling, office supplies. Imagine being punished for reporting on that, rather than the authority saying, "Oh my God, thank you for bringing this to our attention," and immediately going after these people in the most with the highest of priority. It really just that reveals a huge amount about it as well, and the lines of thought that lead out from that. I mean, there's many ways of understanding that we don't live in countries that are ruled by or administrated by moral people, and they're either immoral or amoral. And as I said already, I'm not quite sure what might be worse or more shocking. And then, of course, is the aspect there where they sort of say, like, oh, well, this guy's at fault. And then they try and say that the exacerbating factor is that he edited his videos for shock value. Like the way that he either left things out or put things side by side for contrast in the way that he edited his videos might make people more shocked than they would have been if they saw the whole thing or whatever. It's just amazing, isn't it? And of course, these people, it proves that they know full well what to do, because don't they spend their whole lives trying to convince us of many things and edit things and selectively bring things to our view, and yet hide other things from our view very deliberately. So look, I think that's more or less it. I'll wrap it up there. I'll try and keep it short. Just kept it under an hour and a half at least anyway this time, and I'll just read any comments that are there. Before I go, Dr. Crispy says, any Irish content on the referenda and immigration issues, check out Baron Strawberry interview with John Waters on his Euro election campaign. Off topic, I know. You asked me, do I have any Irish content on the referenda and immigration issues? I don't think I do. But look, if you have something, let me know. Like, put a comment there if you can afterwards, in the comments, and I'll have a look at it. If there's something you can point me to, or if there's a Discord that we're all getting on, then we could communicate that way. If there's something, if you want to have some video played, or we could talk about it, if you're suggesting that there is a referendum coming up on some aspect of immigration, I'm not aware of it, and I have to say I don't pay much attention to Irish stuff. But look, I'll check that out anyway. I'll check. Thanks for that anyway. I mean, I know you did mention that. I'll check out this fellow called Baron Strawberry. I'm not familiar with that name, but I am familiar with John Waters. I do understand that John Waters is, in inverted commas, seeing the light, and he's a conservative now, whatever. But from my understanding, he is a lefty socialist who only got a little bit wise when his own Gollum came back to bite him. And from listening to him speaking to, I forget the fella's name now, Computing Forever. A couple of years back, I remember him talking to Computing Forever, and I think it might have been even before the convids. And I remember listening to the whole interview and realizing this guy hasn't learned anything. he sounds like a conservative now only because conservatives have lost so much ground, and he's still a liberal in inverted commas. But look, whatever, I'm happy to have whatever allies along the way. But in my sort of ideal type of society, he would be as far left as it was permissible to be. I don't see him as a conservative. But anyway, I'll check it out. I'll certainly check it out, and I will keep an open mind, and I'm not going to be partisan against him. I don't dislike John Waters for that. I mean, whatever he's saying now that is of use to saving whatever might be possible to be saved of humanity, I guess I'm happy enough for that. So anyway, sorry for going on there. Dr. Crispy says the no referenda, we won, woke lost. The no referenda. Okay, yeah, we won. Yeah, the woke lost. Well, yeah. Well, look, I get it. So there was 2 questions in the last referendum, and it was, do you want to remove the word woman from the Constitution, and so the state doesn't have to talk about woman's special role in the household and this kind of thing, and make sure that she doesn't have to go out to work because of any kind of poverty issues. And then the other aspect of it was, oh yeah, do you want to put in something about how it was to further reduce the idea of marriage into nothing. The way that I see it is that it's a hollow victory for conservatives, because now we've just retained the idea that marriage is between anybody you like. Could be between men, could be between women, could be between women and women, men and men. That's what conservatives have managed to hang on to. And then the other thing that I basically don't see as any victory either is that women suddenly, I'm guessing that a lot of women suddenly realized, well, wait a minute, there might be advantages to, the state having to be forced to give us money if we don't want to work. So again, I just see that as self-interest, but not coming from a place of necessarily coming from a place of we value the family. I probably should have done an update, a vocal video update like this. I just did a post saying what the outcome was, but that's my attitude in a nutshell. I won't go on about it too much. And thanks for helping me out with that there, Dr. Crispy. Durable relationships is what they wanted it to be. That even though they had made marriage be between whoever you like, they now wanted it to be that the definition of a family was redefined as, just anybody who's living together or doing whatever, or, durable. And we won't even define what durable means. Could be 5 minutes, could be a year, whatever. Anything is acceptable, and everything is undefined. So, yeah, fine. Conservatives were victorious in not allowing all that to be passed. But as I explained already, it's a hollow victory for the reasons I've mentioned. But feel free to disagree with me. I've no problem with that, and no problem giving anyone who wants to come on and tell me how wrong I am, come on and explain to me if you like, or read out whatever comments if you don't want to do that. I know some people don't like to do that, but look, that's about it. I appreciate your comments, and I appreciate people listening, and I'll keep it under the hour and a half, and hopefully people might be able to then also listen back to this, and they won't look at the runtime and go, oh God, it's too long for me. Look, whatever, I've done my little bit for now, and maybe I'll do another stream tomorrow at some stage if I can. Might be on, maybe if I get time, I'll do a short one on a completely different topic as well. But I'll say thanks to everybody for listening, and I'll end the stream now and talk to you again before too long, I hope. Cheers.